This town was so different to what she'd thought it would be when it was first spoken of. On the coast, with a beach running as far as the eye could see and bathed in sunshine, most of the time at any rate, it was just like home. But it wasn't home, and now it never could be. The beach was predominantly made up of stone and shingle, and while the skies were powder blue and the sun shone, the warmth upon her skin was negligible. Even the wind coming in off the sea, more of a gentle breeze today, was bitter and cold rather than warm and inviting, as was her experience back home. The cold cut to her core, and she shivered. Drawing her coat ever more tightly around her, she hunkered into it, casting a glance up the street. A few people were visible, milling about around the greengrocer and getting ahead with their plans for the day. They paid her no heed as she sat on the bench in silence. Her coat was thick, heavy, but still she felt the chill. Apparently it was expected at this time of year, albeit a little on the cold side. The winter seemed to last so long here, feeling as if it would never end. A song was playing through the radio inside the butcher's nearby. She'd heard it many times recently, performed by two brothers who sang about losing the feeling of love. It was popular and struck a nerve with her. Just a short while ago, there seemed to be immense hope for the future, such promise of better days to come. A fresh start. But that was then. For a brief moment, she contemplated how her life had changed in such a short period. How it came to pass was clear. However, what the future would hold, she didn't know and dared not think about. The low rumble of an approaching bus rounding the corner came to ear, and a quick glance at the town clock saw it was right on time, as she was told it would be. Standing up, she reached down and looped her fingers round the handle of the weathered brown leather suitcase at her feet, containing all that she owned in the world. The bus came to a stop alongside her, the noise from the engine growling as the door flipped open. She cast a glance to either side of her up and down the street before hefting the suitcase onto the bus and clambering aboard. The case was small, but so was she, slight and reserved. Several of the passengers eyed her as she took her seat, but no one spoke. Placing the case at her feet, she slid across to sit beside the window. The bus pulled away from the curbside, jolting her backwards in the seat. The conductor came to her, bracing himself against the seat in front as the bus lurched forward, and she purchased her ticket. His gaze lingered on her, longer than she felt necessary, as he handed over the slip of coloured paper, and she averted her eyes from his. For a moment she thought they knew. They all knew. But he walked away without a word. The bus took the next turn, and the sea came into view. The white caps of breakers stood out in the bright sunshine, the light shimmering on the water. It was magical, bringing forth memories from her childhood just a few short years ago. This place wasn't magical. She felt her eyes beginning to water, and she steeled herself, fighting back against the tide of emotion. This was the way it had to be. There was no other choice, that was clear. A lady sitting across the aisle caught her eye. She was elderly with a kindly face. She smiled, and it was returned. Rummaging through her handbag, the passenger produced a handkerchief and offered it across the aisle. "Don't worry, it's clean," she said. Accepting the cotton square with a brief smile and a nod, she then recoiled and looked away, fearful of drawing attention to herself. Wiping her eyes, she made to return the fabric, but the lady was already out of her seat and moving to the door as the bus arrived at the next stop. Soon enough they were on the move again, and the town was rapidly disappearing from view behind them. She felt a flutter of fear in her chest and reached into her coat pocket, her fingers curling around the tight bundle of notes within. Where she went from here would be God's will. If not, his judgment.